George Lucas is the father of modern-day special effects. His Star Wars trilogy took special effects to new heights. Lucas's effects company, called Industrial Light and Magic, also introduced us to a new generation of visual effects. Many of today's top visual effects artists worked in conjunction with Lucas to create the special effects in Star Wars. Harrison Ellenshaw was a matte painter for the film.
The original concept for Star Wars was included the idea of an effects facility. Well, at the time, there were no real effects facilities as there are today. And so George Lucas felt that it was important that somehow he gathered together a team of people who could set up a place and provide the effects for a film called Star Wars. I was contacted at that time to see if I would do some matte paintings for Star Wars, and I said yes, I'd be very interested, knowing that this was the man who'd done American Graffiti, and I thought it'd be kind of fun. And they said it's going to be a B-movie, science fiction kind of thing. Well, at Disney at the time, I wasn't working on that type of thing, and I saw this as a little bit of, not necessarily a challenge, but something interesting to do. But when I first went out there, and I went out and I worked nights, I basically moonlighted at what was called then Industrial Light Magic, and it was in Van Nuys. And you would walk into this place, and it was very informal, to say the least. The screening room was a projector in the room. There were some couches that were, taken from Goodwill or directly off the street. But, as the old saying goes, somebody said, well, don't give up your day job if you go to work on the Star Wars, because who knows how that's going to do. And the success of Star Wars, many people at the time said, that film was so great because of the effects. Wrong. It's a great story.
Dennis Muren has won 7 Oscars for his special effects work. Muren, like Ellenshaw, contributed to the special effects work in Star Wars.
Ever since I was a kid, I was always excited about putting these images together, these pieces together to make these scenes. Scenes that you can't see in real life, that are just too incredible or fantastic or far away. You can't get to them to see them. And I don't know what it is. It was just always something that this has driven me to want to do this work and put in, these long, ridiculous hours we do. Movies are part of a bigger thing. The work we do is a few minutes in a 2-hour movie. And it's important that that entire movie be viewed as one whole experience, that the audience doesn't get distracted. There's a danger in this business of the special effects dominating the story. And one of my jobs is to remind my colleagues all the time that what we're doing is we're making one small part of a big movie. For Star Wars, my son, who's 5 years old, is discovering them now for the first time. And I haven't seen them since they came out. So I've kept a distance on them. And now I'm going through the series and learning them one at a time, actually through a kid's eye sitting right next to me. And as I was doing him, I couldn't, I was too close to it to tell. But seeing him now, there's just an incredible imagination work and an incredible transportation to another world and this incredible feeling that you were on this ride whether you want to be or not.
Visual effects artist Richard Edlund won an Academy Award for his work on Star Wars. He also created a motion control system that gave movement to the miniature space vehicles. Here's Richard Edlund to explain.
Star Wars came along and I had the opportunity to build a full-fledged system up from scratch, basically, because when I started there was nothing but a card table and a telephone on it. So we had to acquire equipment to building pretty high-tech solid-state memory that enabled us to do motion control, which was the whole key to making the shots look like they did for Star Wars. Your edges are defined by the technology that you have available, and there are certain limitations that are there. And essentially, it's like an old Chinese adage from Confucius, where you take the disadvantage and you make it work for you. And that, I think, is like one of the axioms that we always use, is that if you have a disadvantage, there's got to be some way of turning it to your advantage.
It took the combined talents of visual effects artists to create the groundbreaking effects in Star Wars, making this film a milestone in the evolution of special effects.